The Ramakrishna Mission's work for the tribals. The Ramakrishna Mission has been engaged in substantial educational and cultural work in Cherrapunji area of Meghalaya for over 45 years, and since the last 6 years in response to persistent requests from the government of India in Arunachal Pradesh as well. It has been conducting hostels for tribal students in its Silchar, Shillong, Puri, Kaladi, and other branch centers. I have seen the two residential schools of the mission in the Siang and Tirap districts of Arunachal Pradesh. They are very popular with the tribal children and their parents. The tremendous hunger for education is very inspiring and promising feature of these tribal areas today. I have seen with my own eyes, and the government also recognizes the truth of it, that what official agencies take 25 years to achieve, a patriotic voluntary agency can achieve in 5 years, not only in developing educational institutions but also in winning the hearts of the tribal people and in giving them the best of Indian and Western cultures, which they on their part are also very eager to absorb. And the result is that today, wherever in Arunachal Pradesh and South Meghalaya the monks of the Ramakrishna order go, they are besieged by the tribals of the area concerned, pressing them to start a school there or start a school there here. For they say, we do not want our children to remain ignorant and illiterate as we are. The inspiring touch of eternal India. This is a wonderful and promising picture of India on the march. The citizens of India must realize that millions of such people are waiting in the various parts of our country to get that enlivening touch from our nation and its freedom. Between our government and our enlightened citizens, we have to fulfill that great expectation. I have traveled in many parts of the areas where our tribals dwell. I undertook a long tour of Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, Tripura, Kachar in Assam under the auspices of the government of India in 1996. And what a heartening response I marked in their hearts and in their faces to the higher message of India, to the universal message of her philosophy and spirituality. They had very little opportunity till now to come in touch with the great culture of this higher India, the eternal India, the Amar Bharat. They had felt the impact of only the other India, the India of exploiters and moneylenders, and had naturally been repelled by that India. Like the rest of the common people of our country, they were attracted by the high idealism of our national movement and by the Gandhian vision of Swaraj as Ram Raj, and were inspired by the noble humanistic sentiments of the Indian Constitution, which bear the impress of the soul of that eternal India. But their first experience of our newly independent state was not very encouraging. They were repelled by the arrogance and the crudeness and the worldliness of some of the first officers of the government of India, who had none of the virtues of the British or Indian cultures, but had the vices of both, including sex and drink. I have myself heard some of our Nagas in Kohima telling me that when independence came to India in 1947, they were all expecting and hoping for the advent of Ram Raj, but what they actually saw was Ram Raj, RUM. Fortunately, the situation improved after the first few years, and I am glad to say that when I visited Kohima in 1966, I found a set of officers who were patriotic and dedicated, intensely human, besides being efficient, and who were respected by the people. This has helped to correct the earlier unhappy impression. My experience in our tribal areas. Winning over the people in these tribal areas, as also in all rural areas, is a work that calls for a democratic attitude and an approach to in our officers, and not one of superiority and condescension. The former alone is relevant in the context of our new constitution and its political style, which derives its sanction and strength from the people and alone, not as hitherto from other sources, of which people may become only the objects of domination and exploitation. The touch of our free state through its agents on our people is meant to enhance the dignity, freedom, and individuality of each of our citizens everywhere in our vast country. And that touch always receives the instant heartiest response from the people. I saw this response in Nagaland and Manipur during my tour of 1966. An overflow audience listened attentively to my speech at the meeting in the town hall of Kohima, presided over by the then Chief Minister of Nagaland. Later, at the end of 2 hour parlor discussion with a Naga group, including political activists and church leaders, they told me while taking leave, please come again, we need you. During the tour, I visited the small Naga village at Chumchandpur in the Manipur state. It is the headquarters of the subdivision of that name and borders Burma. Its breathtaking natural beauty reminded me of Kashmir. Its population is mostly Christian Naga. The subdivisional officer who received me told me that he expected hardly 10 or 12 people at the meeting, but it being Sunday when the people go to church 3 or 4 times. But we entered the local college hall, which was the venue of the lecture. We were agreeably surprised to see that a crowd of about 2,000 people had filled the hall, verandas, and the lawns. There was a festival atmosphere. My speech on the spirit of Indian culture was translated sentence by sentence into the local Naga dialect by a competent and dedicated teacher. I had with me a copy of Bimal Roy's documentary of Vivekananda, produced by the government of India with Assamese commentary. The officer of the government of India travelling with me had brought it with him. This was screened after the lecture. It was a new experience to them. The vast audience immensely enjoyed the lecture and the film. As these two programs ended, the police band assembled in the lawns struck up as we came out of the hall, adding to the festive atmosphere.